Good morning. So we open the doors early. Let's get the chat up. Looks like we got a lot of people jumping in really fast.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
let's
not
get the chat
to
going.
take over. I get to be the guest here, but
Yeah.
hey, everybody. Looks like about almost 800 people have checked in early. Will you go to the chat and just tell us who you are and where you're from? So check in on the chat, who you are, where you're from. Jeremy, what are you excited about with today, man?
Woo, this is a big day. We've got one of the biggest webinars of the year. We've got a new calculator we're going to drop. I'm pumped that you're joining us, real estate's #1 coach, influencer, educator. How far can I go with this list?
Decent golfer, but you take my money.
Decent golfer, decent golfer.
Yes. Happily married, 30 years.
Happily married.
That's right. Okay, you guys are all going to the
new Texan.
Oh, hey, so the chat is disabled. So Jared, please get that going. We definitely want the chat. I see people jumping into the Q&A. You know what that tells me? We have some smart people on the phone because they're like, hey, the chat's disabled. I'll just go to the Q&A. That means they're super resourceful. All right, now the chat's going. I just want to get a sense who you are, where you're from. Okay, for Utah. Okay, now it's going really fast. We got a lot of people out there. I wish there was a way to slow down the chat. So in case anybody's wondering, Jeremy and I are really good friends. So we said, hey, let's just go on early, do a little, just hang out, say hi. We'll be starting in looks like about 75 seconds officially. So Nebraska, Michigan, I'll be in Michigan in a couple of weeks. Right? Nevada, outstanding. SATX. Where is SATX? Oh, I'm guessing that's San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio, Texas.
Right. Clovis, California. Been there before. Valparaiso, Indiana. I've been there before. McKinney, Texas. I don't live too far from there. All right. So we got a lot of people jumping on the line. Hey, I'm just curious really fast in the chat. So we haven't officially started yet, and I'm kind of taking over Jeremy's show. I just love to do this because it gives me context for who's out there. I want to know very quickly with either a thumbs up, if you can do it, a thumbs flat or a thumbs down. Thumbs up, thumbs flat or down, or you can just write up, flat, or down. I want to know, how are you performing in your business this year, not compared to last year? How are you performing this year to your plan, to your budget? How are you performing? Are you on track with your budget? Are you flat or are you down? Give us a sense here. I got some ups. I got some downs. I got a flat. Stan, I appreciate the honesty. Some flat, 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 up, down, down, up. All right. So that gives me some context, right? I like somebody just said fire, right? Like on fire. Okay. Flat to down. Carissa, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. Okay. Someone said I'm new. Okay. So that means you're flat, right? Trying to figure it out. All right. So that gives us some good context. And I appreciate everybody jumping in there really fast. So Jeremy, I just was hijacking your show. Do you want to do a little introduction? It's almost 9 o'clock.
I voted with a thumbs up.
All right. I'm flat.
How about you? You're flat.
Yeah, we're ahead of last year, but we had a really good year last year. We're ahead, but by this much. But we also readjusted our budget, right? We were budgeting here. We think we're going to finish here, but it's ahead of last year, right? I mean, that's the market and those of us willing to do the work. So Jeremy, why don't you kick us off and then I'll jump in. You go, I go, you go.
Perfect. I love it. Thanks, Tom, so much for joining us. We're incredibly excited to have you. We've become friends the last 6-7 months since we met, and I followed you your entire career and always been a big fan. And I don't know if you know this or not, but we've done some research, and real estate agents unanimously say they didn't get into real estate because they love math. That wasn't the reason they got into the industry.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're aware of that statistic. It's 10 out of 10 say they did not get into real estate because they love math. So that's been my focus. My career is trying to figure out and make numbers relevant and easy to use. Yes. I'm not a math person either. So at the end of this, I'm going to drop some new calculators that we're saying the most important calculators we've dropped in 10 years. And part of it is because interest rates are really high. Part of it is because prices are a little funky. But numbers are always confusing, but they're a little more confusing right now than normal. And so we're incredibly excited about that. But I don't want to take up much more time because I asked you to come on and share with our audience what you're seeing in the market and what could help them today. And I've been to a few of your events lately, and it's been incredible just to see how much you care, how you're helping people every day. And we have a massive audience across the country. This is going to be one of the largest webinars of the year. And when you get to streams and views, I think we'll cross 100,000. So talking to those agents, what do you have for them today in September that can help them in 2023 win more business in this industry?
So I want to talk about two principles. I want to talk about listing attraction. And the reason I want to talk about listing attraction is we know the numbers today that NAR just announced in the US. We were originally expected to do 4.2 million transactions. I have a slide that actually shows that. But a few days ago, it was announced their new projection is 4 million. I was on the phone with a friend of mine. He started a company about 24 years ago called Realtor.com. He's 84 years old. I refer to him as the Yoda of real estate, and he kind of looks like Yoda. And his name is Joe Hanauer, amazing guy. And we were chatting about, what the Harvard, group is going to talk about in terms of housing. He was on the phone with the CEO of Lennar. There is no immediate or even, let's call it, mid to short-term solution for inventory. So what all of us have to take responsibility for is, how are we going to create inventory? So I want to show you today some strategies that you can start implementing immediately that will, just from your database alone, start getting some hand raisers, because there's a lot more sellers in your database than most of you can imagine. Now, you know me, Jeremy, I'm going to give them a ton of stuff. We're going to make all the slides available. Maybe we'll get them out to all the title partners and let them disseminate them, right? That could be the easiest route. So I'm going to go ahead and take over the show. Could you do the split screen for me, guys, so I can show them my slides, right? So Brandon, let me know once we got that. And then on Jared's team, can you guys spotlight me? So is it spotlit? I just want to make sure everybody sees it the way we want to do it, right? Okay, there it is. All right. So let's call this a little 35, 40-minute education center where I want to talk to you about what is working right now. So you're going to see with this stuff, there's no hyperbole. It is just straight up, do this, do it 5 to 10 times a day, send these emails, and you're going to get listings, like period, end of story. All proven tactics based on all of our coaching members. So if we're not connected on social, I hope we get a chance to do that. I think I have the screen there for a sec. I'm on just about every one of those. If you go to Instagram and you DM me, that is 100% me. You'll know, because I don't spell anything correctly. I just kind of go very fast and do a lot of heart emojis. So make sure you connect with me there. That we've already figured out. So let's go right here. So the question that you get more than anything else is, how's the market? I'm going to show you 2 slides. One really matters. It's important that you have it probably, pasted to your bathroom mirror. The other one is just a gentle reminder, and then it really kicks off what it is we want to accomplish. So here's the first thing. If you go back in time to 2021, right, we had 6.12 million transactions, right? And then if you count new construction, right, we were cresting over 7 million. As I mentioned to you just a couple of minutes ago, prior to Thursday, we were on pace to sell 4.2 million individual units. Now, I don't have to tell all of you that the transaction count is down. Every single one of you, we all know it, right? But here's something you probably don't know. What you don't know is that we've added 33,000 net new realtors, right, since 2021. That's sitting right now at 1.55 or 1.66 million real estate professionals across the US. You could make the argument today, it has never been more competitive than it is right now. It has never been more competitive than it is right now. Some would even argue, and I'm a big fan of I'm sure you saw the movies. I was a big fan of the books, read them with my adult kids. We're truly in what I would call the real estate Hunger Games right now. It is truly the rich and the rest. It is truly the people that are willing to do the work, right? And they're going to win. And then it's everybody else. So let's talk about it, right? I don't know why my clicker stopped working there. Brandon, any idea? in case you're wondering if this is a live show, right? Take a look at this really fast. We took the entire country minus the Phoenix Metro MLS because for whatever reason, we couldn't get access to it. But, we basically covered, call it 99.5% of the country. And here's what we discovered. And if you take a screenshot of this, what you're going to see is we took the whole country, then we took 5 of the biggest MLSs, right? The Dallas one, the MRES one up in the DC, Virginia, et cetera area. We took SoCal, the huge one there. We took the big one in Miami. And what we looked at was what's going on in the market, what's going on the listing sold side. And what we're seeing here, and you see it, is the top 1% of the agents in every MLS across the country are at almost 21% market share. And you can see there of those 5 MLSs, we're only talking about a little less than 1,300 agents controlling almost 21% of the market, the top 3%, 31, the top 5, 38.4, and the top 25% of agents in the MLS are almost at 71% market share. Now, the question is why? The question is, what are those men and women doing that potentially you're not? And that's what I want to unpack today. And that's what Jeremy's going to unpack with these calculators. So let's talk about it. Somebody said, I can't read the slides. You're going to get a copy. You're going to get a copy. And I know that's small print. I get it, right? Typically, this would be on a big 20-foot screen. You might be on your phone or looking at a small dealio. So ask your title partner. You're going to get a copy of all the slides. So Brandon, go to the next one. So here's the question. When you look at, for me, nearly 70,000 hours of private coaching sessions, the number 1 Compass agent in all of Florida, the number 1 Remax agent in the world, Gary Ashton, like all these men and women that I get to work with all day, every day, every one of them is going to tell you the same thing. It's what they focus on. I'm rereading right now. I don't know if you guys can see this book. You should all read this book tonight. It's the new book by Walter Isaacson on this guy, Elon Musk. If you read that book tonight, it's only 400 pages, so you can get through it pretty quick. If you read that book, the one thing you're going to hear, and it doesn't matter what successful entrepreneur you talk to, Jeremy, myself, Elon Musk, all these extraordinary people, they all have incredible focus. They have incredible focus and discipline. Now, I know as I say that, I see some of you chatting right now in the chat. I would make the argument now is not the time to be chatting in the chat. Right now, the time is to ask yourself, what if I started spending 80% of my time on activities that actually generate listings? Now, I've done a lot of surveys. I've done a lot of reports in my 34 years in this space. And I can tell you that the vast majority of people, I'm not saying you, the vast majority of the people spend about 5% of their time on listing attraction, about 5% of their time on listing attraction. And then they wonder why they're always in a position to be writing offers and hoping and praying to the real estate gods that their offer gets accepted. My son is 24 years old, right? His name is Michael. I named him after my dad. You probably know who that is. And when he was young, a buddy of mine sent him with him to New York City. A buddy of mine is an investment banker, and he got to go on a road show. And what he did was the CEO of the company, my buddy Chad, and my son Michael sitting in the background, watching what was happening over and over and over and over. And when I met him at the London Hotel in Manhattan a couple of days after this trip, Jeremy, I asked him, what was the most important thing you learned? What was the most important thing you learned? And his answer was, I know what side of the desk I want to be sitting on. He said, I know what side of the desk I want to be sitting on. Now, if you don't get it, what he meant was, I don't want to be the guy presenting to get the money. I want to be the guy with the money saying, do I want to invest in your product, in your company, right? Well, it's the same thing for you and I. Do you want to be on the offer writing side or the offer accepting side? That means we've got to spend more of our time on listing attraction. So Brandon, it's still not working. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but let's go ahead and click forward. So the question is, how do I double the number of listing appointments I'm currently getting? So let's go to the next slide. How do I currently double the number of listing appointments that I'm currently getting? And I'd make the argument for you sitting right now in September, not only thinking about how to finish the year strong, you're also thinking about how do I set up 2024 to have an even better year? So let's go to the next slide. If you take a look at our clients, right? And, we have 15,000 clients in 29 countries around the world. So you're talking about the number 1 agent in Munich, Germany, the, number 1 agent in Sydney, Australia, and, somebody really strong in your market and many of my clients right here with us. They're all going to say the same thing. You've got to have multiple lines in the water. You got to have up to 3 different ways that you're attracting sellers today because you can't be myopic. Now, I'm going to talk to you specifically about your database, your past clients in Sphere today. But understand, every single one of those works. So if you're looking at that list, right, you might be saying, well, I kind of dabble with this one. And okay, I do some open houses now and then. Jeremy, when we were in Northern California, right, with all of our title partners, one of my personal clients, a guy named Andy C. So Andy works with Intero, big independent company there in town. Andy did about 330 transactions. He's the number one agent in all of Saratoga, Sunnyvale, Los Gatos, Los Altos, right? Let's just call it the Silicon Valley. Did about $22 million in commissions. What if I told you he only does the top 3 on that list? He works his clients. He works his sphere, right? He does geographic farming with about 125,000 houses. He didn't start there. He grew to that over time. And he is the open house king. He and his team did 650 open houses last year, and they'll do even more this year. Now, my point to you is, I'm not saying you have to be that dominant. I'm not saying you want to make that much money, but I see somebody just checked in from Phoenix, Arizona. Well, you would know George Lawton and you would know Jason Mitchell, 2 of my clients, right? George Lawton, right? 3,000 transactions a year. They got the Zillow account, plus they do geo farming, plus they work their past clients in Sphere, plus they do open houses, plus they do direct mail. They do the entire arbitrage sellers, Zillow, realtors, sold, HomeLight. They all have multiple sources. So stop and look at that. And if I said to you, you had to commit, I'm going to become an expert at 2 or 3 of them, what would they be? What would the 2 or 3 be? Is it going to be Google advertising, which works? Is it, hey, I'm in an area where there's a lot of investors, so I'm going to go after marketing to non-owner occupieds? Is it, hey, I'm in a marketplace where there's for sale by owners, and you know what? FSBO is actually fastest source of business opportunity. So you can't have any biases around what lead source you like or what lead sources you don't like. No one cares about your biases. The only thing that matters is go get the money, right? If somebody's out there and they want to sell, you're not going to say, well, I only want to work by referral only. Like, what? Is your bank only by referral only, or will your bank accept a $20,000 commission check from an expired listing? Like, don't let your biases get in the way. Go serve clients. Go to the next slide. Here's an example. And no, go and put that next thing up. It's a perfect example. This young guy right now, I think he's like, 13 years into his business, becomes one of our coaching members. His coach, Carl, immediately says to him, hey, I'm looking at the data right now in your MLS, and it looks like there's a lot of people, right, doing for sale by owner, because he wanted like FSBO and all the other FSBO sites. And he's like, you got a ton of these. The guy says, I don't like FSBOs. The guy says, it's fine. They don't like you either. Who cares? But with the right dialogue, with the right calculator, right, with the right information and the right math, guess what happens? The guy lists like 7 for sale by owners in like 10 days. So what am I saying to you? Whoever has the most focus on the listing attraction side is going to win. Show them the next slide, because I typically wouldn't share this, but these are what I would call maybe some more advanced strategies, things to maybe experiment with. I want to start with the very first one. If you go to your title partner and say, hey, can you pull a report for me of every homeowner in my area that's 70 plus years old, or another way of doing it is has lived in their house for 30 or 35 or 40 years. What you're going to find is most of the equity in America, we've got 38.9% of all homes have no mortgage. You got another like 35% that are so equity rich, it's almost bananas, right? And what they're all going to tell you is, Jeremy, I see your hand moving. Was that for me or for you guys?
Nope, I was telling our guys.
Okay, cool. Right. So I'd go to my title partner and I would say, can you pull that list for me? And then I would make that a new geographic farm, or maybe a demographic farm. And if you see my note there, it says, if they're in a 2-story home, that's even better, right? I would do direct mail. I do handwritten notes. I drop note cards. My dad would roll over and just want to punch me. I even say, put a refrigerator magnet on there, because the people that are 70, 75, 80, right? Here's what you have to understand. I'm going to say this, please, with the utmost respect. Do not be angry at me when I say this. Right? I just saw somebody from Abby Holiday. So we know that Abby lived to be like 105, right? She's not the average. Most of those homeowners that are sitting inside that house with all that equity, or they probably paid it off, their real estate agent died 10 years ago. They have become abandoned sellers. And if you take them on, I see that as an enormous opportunity. Number 2, list or buy lots that are zoned for multiple property, but they only have one SFR. My client Jim Allen does that in North Carolina. And we're talking about, 1,000+ transactions. He's creating the inventory by getting people that have owned a house forever that are sitting with, one SFR on it, but it's zoned for zone R2, R3, R4, 7. And then he's building more product and he's solving the problem. Expireds because of who you are in your brand. Seminars for sellers. My client Maureen Fallon, Queen of Queens, New York, has been doing 2 of these every single month. We got an entire playbook for it. My point is, guess who's showing up to those seminars? People that are 70, people that are 80, that are trying to figure out, hey, how do I pay the taxes? How do I turn this thing over to my kids? Should I do that? They are in need of an expert like all of you, my friends, right? So listing Airbnbs, I was literally just talking to a client. He's like, hey man, they just stopped all Airbnbs in my town. I was like, wow, congratulations, pull the entire list, start calling those owners because those are going to be listed. Or maybe it's just an oversaturated market. There's just too many Airbnbs. Like today I'm in Orange County, right? In Newport Beach, where I used to live, right down on the peninsula. There's too many Airbnbs. So it went from like 1 or 2 or 5 and wow, this is a magical place to like every other house is an Airbnb. Who cares? It's oversaturated. Those people are going to sell. Build your own networking group, pick a niche farm, become the expert. So let's go to the next one. You ready? Take a look at this slide really fast. I got to be mindful of time. This should be hanging on your bathroom mirror. This is a major point. You have to ask yourself whose circumstances are changing. If you pay attention to the demographics, Gen Xers, myself, right? We have a lot of equity in multiple properties. The baby boomers, many of them, their homes are already paid off. The silent generation, their homes have been paid off for a long, long time. And you look at that, yes, the sad part is it's declining as in they're aging out, right? They're moving on to heaven. But the reality is those men and women, they're going to sell their house. And the question is, are you going to get the listing or is somebody else going to get the listing? So let's go to the next one. You ready? So my question is, what are the 3 listing attraction priorities you have between now and the end of the year? And who are you going to go after in 2024 to build a better practice? Let's go to the next slide. So let's start here. I'm going to give you some very tactical stuff to work on. If I asked you right now, and I don't want to do it because I don't want to distract your brain, typically I would say if there's a couple hundred people, how many people do you have on your phone? And, Jeremy, we did this every week, right? Last week. And, you see all these people, I got 2,000 people on my phone. I got 800 people on my phone. The reason why I ask this, and all of you should know how many people you have in your database, how many people you have on your phone. Here's why. Hit the next slide. That's how many of them are going to sell in the next 12 to 18 months. Without even going to a solution like Revaluate or First.io or any one of these predictive analytics companies, I can tell you unequivocally between 3 and 5% of every person in your phone is going to list their house in the next 12 to 18 months. And my question for you is, why? My question for you is, how are you going to activate them? So let's go to the next slide. Here's what I know. What drove the market during the pandemic? Was I can work from anywhere. What drove the market during the pandemic was interest rates at 2.25, 2.87, 3%. What drove the market during the pandemic was a massive, massive real estate boom. Now, what's driving the market, right? It's when circumstances change. It's when diapers and death and diamonds and divorce and diplomas and defaults and derelocation and all the other things. This is what's moving the market right now. So this is still going to happen. And the challenge is, please write this in your notes. 3 to 5% of the people in your database are going to put their home on the market because the circumstance is going to change. You've all had the situation where you literally say to yourself like, oh my God, I just sold them their forever home. And 12 months later, they call you and say, we're selling it. Oh my God, they're going to take us out in the pine box. We're going to live here forever. And something happens. Our job right now. So someone just asked, how do I find the Airbnbs? Go to your title partner and say, help me find the Airbnbs. Go to your title partner. That's one of the special things that they can do. So let's go to the next slide. 3 to 5%. So how do we discover them? Go to the next slide. Everybody wants to know one thing. Everybody asks you one question all the time. And you all know the question. The question is, how's the market? But what they really want to know is how much my home is worth. The average consumer doesn't care about how the real estate market is. The only thing they care about is how much equity do I have? Is my equity safe? Are we going back to 2007, 8, 9 again? That's their concern, right? So if you look at the news does way more to terrify than it ever does to clarify, right? They want to terrify you, right? $1.7 trillion in mortgages up for renewal, and they're saying it's going to be a bloodbath. And then at the bottom, they say, oh, by the way, we're referring to high rises, right? Not homes, right? But again, your customers, your database, they're seeing all this negative stuff all the time. Everybody wants to know how much their home is worth. If you don't answer the question, it's okay. Go to the next slide. Here's how. You all know that company Zillow. Now you might say, I don't like Zillow. I don't care. 200 million people a month go to Zillow. I say, let's turn Zillow on their head. I created a thing many years ago. We used to call it the Lazy Man CMA, the Lazy Man CMA. Now I call it the ZMA, the Zillow Market Analysis. Here's what I want you to do. So pay really close attention, my friends. You're going to go to every person you sold a house to ever. You're going to type in their address on Zillow. Click to the next one. You're going to take a screenshot of the Zillow price. Click to the next one. And then you're going to send this exact text message. Take a screenshot of this right now. Take a screenshot. If you're on your phone, screenshot. If you're on your laptop, whatever, take a screenshot. You're going to start doing this today. You're going to start sending out text messages like, hey, Jeremy, I was on Zillow earlier today looking for properties in your neighborhood, and I decided I would just type in your address. The Zillow estimate for your home's value is 1.848 million, whatever the number is. And then I have my opinion, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? And you send the text. You send the text. And it is absolutely okay. So someone said the slides are blurry. That's yours because I'm looking at them. They are absolutely crystal clear. So stop. Okay. Listen, my friends, stop chatting. You're not focusing right now. I said to you, the single most important thing that makes the best people the best is their ability to focus. So you can tell me the slides are blurry. I don't care because I'm looking at them right now. They're crystal clear. Your only note should be screenshot of my clients, send with text, get notes from my title rep. All right. And I promise you, they're not blurry when you get them. All right, let's go to the next one. Now, this is the easiest way, my friends. This is the easiest way for all of you to start communicating with your clients. It's the easiest way because you could literally send 10 text messages in 13 seconds. You know, hey, one after another, screenshot. And guess what? They're all going to respond because they respond really fast to text messages. Gosh, I thought it was worth more. Gosh, I thought this. And then I don't have to tell any of you. What you do from there when they say, well, we love this house and we're not going to sell. Hey, I just wanted you to know, would you like an actual valuation on the property so you know how much equity you're sitting on? Would you like to know how much equity you're actually, who's going to say no to that? They're going to say, of course, Zillow's always wrong. Got it. And some are going to say, oh my goodness, I can't believe you just brought this up. Well, guess what? Martha and I are getting divorced and we need to sell the house. And oh, please don't tell anybody, but we're talking about it. We were thinking about you. And just like that, you're going to find 3 to 6% of all the people in your phone are going to sell their house. But if you don't activate them, you're not going to get them. Go to the next slide. Now, the question is, why is this so important right now? Why should you carve out 10 minutes every single day to send 10 of these texts every single day between now and the end of the year? Do you want to know why you should do it? Do you want some motive for action? Click the next slide. Because whoever is closest to the clients makes all the money. Whoever gets closest to the client, and you have some competition. Click to the next slide. See all these companies? They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars every single quarter to get your clients to go to their website so they can take that lead and they can sell it to somebody else. Now, I'm not busting the chops of them, right? There's some wonderful people inside there. I'm actually an investor in one of them called sold.com, right? Like they're good people, but listen, my friends, they spend a lot of money to get your client to go to their site because you don't have enough good conversations and you're not playing into the zeitgeist. So click to the next slide. Read that out loud. Every Zillow seller lead, and it's a very big program for them, click the slide, is a buyer who was abandoned by their agent. Every Zillow seller lead is a buyer who is abandoned by their agent. And I promise you, if you start sending those text messages, you're going to get listings. You're going to be like all my clients that are in our middle of our 100K to 100-day program, which I'll tell you about. It's not for sale. It's just something we're doing with our coaching clients to get them to send these 5 to 10 text messages every day. And they're all saying the same thing. Oh my goodness, I haven't done this forever. I've never done this before. I'm finding listing opportunities. I'm getting people that want to sell in the spring. I'm generating this enormous pipeline by just sending a Zillow wrong price in a text to their clients. Now go to the next slide. So I'm going to show you a couple emails. Now, again, you're going to want to take a screenshot of these. No one has to tell me that they're blurry. I know they're not, right? Texts absolutely are killing. Somebody just said it there. Absolutely, because everybody responds. Take a look at this email. I want you to send this. So make a note, please. Please make a note. Don't send this today on Monday. Send it Sunday afternoon. Send it Sunday afternoon between 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Send it Sunday afternoon between 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Now you can ask why, and I will just remind you, Sundays between 4 and 8 are the single highest traffic times for Zillow and Realtor and HomeLight and Redfin and everybody else. And I don't know why. I don't care, right? It's just the time then people must be thinking about, okay, I've got time. I'm watching football. I'm doing my search, thinking about, can we find a house? So if you send it between Sunday and 4 and 8, what we found is whether you have 100 people in your database or 8,000 people in your database, you're going Sunday. Someone's like, what time again? Focus. Sundays between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Sundays, I'd send it right at 4 o'clock and then be prepared to start answering questions. Be prepared to start answering questions. You're going to, what's that phrase in fishing? Chum the water, right? Like you're putting in all the bait and all the fish start biting like crazy. That's what an email like this does. And it's not even the best one. Now you might say, wait a minute, Tom. The subject line says before Thanksgiving. Oh, you're trying to create some urgency. Like you're looking for people that want to do it now. Hi, name. This may not be for you, but if I could sell your home for 7 to 10% more than your Zillow's estimate, would you sell before Thanksgiving? If you're interested, let's connect. You're not looking for 1,000 responses. You're not looking for 100 responses. You're looking for 4. You're looking for 4 people that go, yeah, I'd like to sell my house for more than this estimate. Now, some of you are going to say, well, what about, and oh my goodness, and yada, yada, yada. Keep moving on. Go to the next one, because that's not even the best one. This is the best one. Hey, if a buyer offered you 15% above your estimate, would you sell? If a buyer offered you 15% above your estimate, would you sell? Now, Jeremy knows because we're friends. I sold my house in Newport Beach, California last year. I was not on the market, right? Really good listing agent, longtime personal client of mine called and said, hey, let me talk to the decision maker. I knew what that meant. I handed the phone to my wife and he said, Kathy, look on Zillow, see what it's worth. If I can get you, in that case, it was like 7% more. Would you guys consider selling the house? She's like, yes. And then he asked her the most brilliant question. You should pay attention if you work off-market deals. Listen to this. He said, at what price would you accept the offer and not back out? At what price would you accept the offer and not back out? Now, I told Tim that was such a good strategy that he needs to take an email like this and send it to his 30,000 person database. His 30,000 person database. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. Homes in my area aren't selling 15% above the Zestimate. Look up here. It said, if a buyer offered you more than 15% above your Zestimate, would you sell? We're just trying to find the sellers that are, basically just focused on greed. They want to sell. It's just, can we activate them? Go to the next one. Ready? This is one of my all-time favorites. You'll send it 4 times a year. Now, don't send these 3 emails 3 Sundays back to back. That would be like all of you can remember being, I guess not all of you. Some of you can remember being like a young, 19-year-old, 20-year-old girl, and you meet some young guy and they're just looking at you like, right? Like you can't put yourself in that situation, right? If all you do is ask, then all you do is ask. If all you do is ask, then all you do is ask. So I'm going to space these emails out between now and the end of the year. I'm going to send one this month. 45 days from now, I'm going to send the next one. 45 days from now, I'm going to send the next one. But in between, I'm going to be sending value, right? Here's what's going on in the market. Here's the market stats. Here's what's happening in the news. You're debunking some of the headlines. You're delivering value. So then when you ask, they're like, oh, okay, great. But this one, you're going to send 4 times a year. It's called the Name Your Price email. Hi, name. Could you finish this sentence for me? If I could sell my house for X amount of dollars, I'd list my home this fall, winter, spring, summer, all 4 seasons. It is an absolutely proven killer email. And the funniest part, Jeremy, is I get these like texts or DMs now and then that say, I sent that Name Your Price email. I thought I would get more than 2 listings. And my response is, I'm sorry, did I only get you 2 listings for an email? Send it again next spring, next summer, next fall. You'll continue to keep getting 2 listings. Your average sales price is $960,000. You should be saying, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. So I want to be like Tom Ferry. I don't see what the balance of that says. The female version. No, you don't. You want to be the best you could be. I'm crazy, right? Just, admittedly, right? But most entrepreneurs are. All right, let's go to the next one. You ready? So what are you thinking? I just told you a texting strategy that worked. I gave you 3 emails that I promise you'll get. Dependent upon the size of your database. If you have a huge database, you could end up with 15 or 20 listings. If you just have a small database, if I get you 2 listings, plus you send the text messages, what you're really doing is ensuring that your clients aren't going back to Zillow or Redfin for pricing, that they're going to you. Someone said, love your energy. I appreciate that. All right. So what are you thinking? Now, let's transition. Can you pull up my next slide? So, by the way, hit that QR code really fast. Hit that QR code really fast. Hit that QR code and then write down that number, please. I have so many unbelievable free goodies, free trainings, all this killer stuff. So just hit that QR code or, take a photo of it, save it for later. I'm not sure what just happened there, Brandon. We just got a little lost in outer space. Don't know what happened. In case you guys are wondering if this is a live show. All right. He's like, I'll fix that in a second. All right. So while he's fixing that, let's talk about 3 apps that I love. And then I'm going to reintroduce my buddy, Jeremy. So in your notes, there are 3 apps that if I don't see these 3 apps on your phone, like on the front screen. So just for context, ready? Here's my phone, right? I've got the first one. It's right there. It's called ChatGPT. If I don't see ChatGPT on your phone, I'd make the argument that either you're a really good writer, like you're like an English major, or you are wasting your time. I'll give you an example. I got an email recently from a CEO of a large real estate company. And it was like, Friday night, I'm in Dallas. I'm at my apartment. I'm sipping a little glass of Chianti with my mother-in-law. She's 96, little Lola, right? Cute little Italian. And we just had some raviolis, ring-da-ding-da-ding-da-ding, right? Little Italian. And all of a sudden, as I'm about to close my laptop, I get an email. And I look at the email, and the email it's from a CEO of a company who had watched a piece of my content and he liked 95% of it, but he hated 5%. So, he played this whole video with all of his managers, a bunch of agents, and he's like, loved it, but hated the 5%. So, it's like Friday night and I'm like, I've had 2 glasses of wine and I'm like, okay, how am I going to respond to this email? Well, part of me is like, hey, knucklehead, I didn't tell you to play the darn video. Like you just went to my YouTube channel and you pulled it. Like maybe you should have watched it before you did it. You could have edited out the 5%. But that's not a good response. You've all had emails like this from customers that say, oh my God, our listing was just launched and photo number 437, I don't like it. It's blurry, right? Well, see, rather than me responding, you know what I did? I went to ChatGPT. I opened up the app. I copied the email, put it inside there and said, I have tremendous empathy for this CEO, right? She is under a tremendous amount of pressure. Please write this in an empathetic way that I understand her situation. If she would like me to redo the video, I would do the entire video without the 5% just for her. Boom. And it writes the email and it's beautiful. And I send it to the client. And like minutes later, boom, I get a response. Thanks, Ferry. I totally appreciate it. I was just having a bad day. I was just venting on you. I don't know if I would have wrote a better email response to that than ChatGPT. And we all know there's 500 other things you can do it. That's the first one, right? The second one you have to have on your phone, and it's right here next to Jeremy, your app. It's called Land Glide, LandGlide, Land Glide. Landglide. And what Landglide gives me, it is so magical, right? Big shout out to one of my clients in Dallas who showed me this. He was talking to me about properties and I was like, who owns that? And he's like, oh, hold on. He looks, Landglide. It's every lot in the United States on an app. Let me say that to you again. It's every lot in the United States on an app. You should know, right? Everyone that lives in your marketplace. It does a bunch of different things, but the most important thing is to know the lot lines. Like I live in Dallas. I'm looking at like South Dallas and I'm realizing there's a whole bunch of activity. Everybody's buying up all these lots down there. I want to know the lots that aren't owned by these people. So maybe I can take a couple of them. It's called Land, Land, Glide, Glide. Check it out. The third one though is PalmAgent. The third one is PalmAgent. I know it is genius. The first time I saw it, I'm like, and by the way, am I an investor in ChatGPT? No, but I wish I was. Am I an investor in Landglide? No, but I wish I was. If you can get me in, let me know. I like to invest. And yes, Landglide's like $99 a year and worth $1,000 a year just for the inside. But the third one, go to that next slide, if you would, please. The third one is, right, PalmAgent, which is with your title company, with your title partner. It's got all kinds of different names there, the name of their title company, agent. So the CEO of that company has become a good friend, right? It's Jeremy who invited me to this. Jeremy, I want you to take over for a minute and I want you to help solve, I think, the two biggest problems most agents face. Actually, I'm going to say three. Number one is their inability to use math. Their inability to use math to explain why someone should take action, right? It's one thing for you and I to have a dialogue, but we all know most of us are slightly ADD. I can tell because I keep saying, stop putting things in the chat and you do it anyway, right? Like the focus is hard, but now you're doing that with a seller. You're doing that with a buyer. And what they've done is they've solved it. And now I'm seeing everybody type in, I love PalmAgent, right? But that's the number one problem. It's math translated in a way that helps the customer. The number two thing though, and the one I wanted to talk about first is the unrealistic seller. The unrealistic seller. How do you help the unrealistic seller? And then the third one is the brand new one, which is how do we unlock sellers in the market? So Jeremy, will you take over, show them that stuff, and then I'll do the balance on, conversion and all that stuff. But Jeremy, take it away.
Tom, thank you so much. There's a reason you're the best. And it's people hear that term and sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know. Let me see. Like you're such a great communicator. You've been such a great human to get to know. There's a lot of people that I'm friends with. I like them better over time, but not many people I'm impressed with them more over time. And just ask our wives, like they're not impressed with us anymore. Like that's a hard one to grow. And I've been so impressed with how authentic and genuine and honest and caring, thoughtful. You jumping on and doing what you do for this industry is such a service that I know all of our users are grateful for.
Right.
And it's incredible to see what you're doing in the industry. So thank you for coming on and giving away. That was one of the things that surprised me. I was like, Tom gives away everything. Right. Like he gives away all of his secrets, all of his greatest tactics. He wants to genuinely help people. And of course you have the largest coaching company in the country. And I don't know how anyone's doing business right now, especially in this market without a good coach, but it's like, that becomes like the secondary thing. You're here to help the industry.
Okay, hold on. Thank you. Show them the apps because we got to show them more content. You're so kind.
I'm coming in.
So
I'm coming in. Well, when I first sat down with you, I said, I was proud of myself. I said, we have over 400,000 users. We've changed the industry. This was an industry that deflected numbers, and now we're talking about numbers. And it's been a fun ride. I said, we have over 400,000 users. And you said, who's not using it? Like that was your response. And I was like, I thought you were going to be proud of us, and you weren't proud of us because you were like, this is the way, this has to be the way we're doing it in 2023.
Right.
So I'm going to pull up PalmAgent and hopefully everyone can see it on my screen. And I'm going to address the two questions you brought up that I think are very relevant for today. One is the unrealistic seller. And the good thing about this industry is the unrealistic seller thrives in every market. They're everywhere. It's not unique to the market we're in. They just seem to linger in every state, in every city. And they can be difficult to talk with sometimes because they get their mind set on their price, their house, it's so special, and blah, blah, blah. So while we have our audience on, and these are all the mathletes in the industry that have been using PalmAgent for years and years, I want to go to a button we have here called Sell to Net. Sell to Net was created for the unrealistic seller. Sell to Net is something that when you pull it up, it's the net sheet in reverse, I call it. It starts with the net goal. You know, sometimes we have clients, hopefully it's not a lot, but we have clients that say, you know what, my wife and I have discussed this property and we would like to make 50,000. We want to make 50,000. As long as you can sell our house and we can clear 50,000, we're good. Does everybody ever get that? This one kind of started because we were sitting in our title partners' offices. They were calling me escrow officers, and they were going back and forth trying to run scenarios, trying to figure out what those numbers would be. So it's the net sheet in reverse. It starts with 50,000. This is what they want to make. You put in their payoff. They still owe 6.25, and that's it. Pick a closing date, hit compute, and this will show you what you need to list the property for you to clear the 50,000. Now, the reason this is a little funky is our real estate commissions are often based on a sales price. So you have to have the sales price before you can compute 6%. Title insurance often in different states is based on the sales price. So it just kind of goes back and forth and plays with those numbers and gives you a good visual on the spot that you can sit there with your clients, showing them comps. They haven't even been thinking of the number 736. All they've been thinking about is their 50,000. And what we've seen more often than not is you don't say, great news, I think you can net 75,000. They've already kind of done some math. Usually it's the men. They've got in there and played around with the numbers and said, if we can get her to agree to take the listing and we can clear 50,000, then she can squeeze her commissions out of the rest, or he can squeeze his commissions out of the rest. It's usually someone trying to play with our commissions, but it all fits in the category of the unrealistic seller. So make sure you know where sell to net is, because when you need it, it's a phenomenal calculator. It's fast and it's easy, and it lets the computer tell them, you know, we might be in the wrong ballpark. The second one I have for unrealistic sellers is, okay, just the normal net sheet. So I'm going to do 675. I'm going to say the payoff is 5.25, and I'm going to hit compute. This is something that's really strong in this market, and I want to make sure everyone knows about it, everyone sees it. Over here on the top right, you see where it says holding costs. You can just from your phone swipe over. Holding costs are the cost of keeping this house on the market. This was the number one question we got from all of our users across the country, was when someone's sitting here and they're so stuck on a price, and we're trying to say, you know what, if we accept this number and it takes us another 60 days to get an offer, we would have been better with this number. So this is one that you can swipe over, and it will show you on this property, what are the holding costs, the taxes, the insurance, the interest. The principal is not part of this because technically they're getting credit every month they pay their mortgage, but a quick visual of what does it cost to keep this house on the market. Now, in the bottom left, I can hit edit expenses, and I can come in and add an HOA of $500 a month. I can say that there's, you know, $1,500 a month of total utilities, water and electric and all that stuff. I can even go in and say there's $250 a month in lawn maintenance and stuff like that. So this will even let you fine tune those numbers more. But if you want to look and say, you know, overpricing the house, you know, may sound nice. However, if the house sits on the market for 90 days, especially if they're already living in another city, then we might be shooting ourselves in the foot. Let's price the house appropriately. And I haven't seen anything else in the industry except for some agents that have created some Excel spreadsheets to try to do this, that can compute this for you so quickly. So those are my two for unrealistic sellers that I think are very hot and relevant right now. I want to make sure everyone knows about them, knows they're on their phone. Now let me get to the second part, which is unlocking real estate. Now, I'm going to use this, Tom, whenever you get back. I'm really curious. This is one of my favorite slides that I always show, and it's telling a story using numbers. And we updated this morning, so these numbers are relevant. U.S. tax revenue, 4.9 trillion. Fed budget, 6.3 trillion. New debt, 1.4 trillion. National debt, 33 trillion. Recent budget cuts, 28 billion. Politicians are trying to figure out why we don't care about these numbers. And I think it's because no one really knows what a trillion is anyway. It's hard to relate and connect with these numbers. So what we did is we took 8 zeros evenly off of each of these. So they're proportional. And we said, what if we use a household budget to try to tell a story that we can connect to that's more relevant to us? So here's the exact same story. Annual family income, 49,000. Their budget, 63,000. Oh, that's a little easier to see that Houston, we may have a problem. Their debt they're adding to a credit card is 14,000. Their outstanding balance on their credit card is 331,000. They're making 49 a year. Does anyone see why we might be in trouble with our finances in this country? And they've gotten together and really tried to get drastic with the budget, and they've cut $285. This is the same story, but using a story numbers that we're used to. And the reason I say that is these calculators we're running in social media, where you're able to go in and put the numbers in that work for your market. It makes all the difference in the world. I used to see people, being from Texas, 150,000, you could get a really nice home. And I'd go to California and I'd run scenarios of 150,000 and I'd get laughed out of the room. They couldn't even hear what I was saying or what I was showing, because you need to be able to fine tune the numbers to your audience. And that might be different price points. That might be someone specific of here's your scenario. So what I want to do is I want to jump into a new calculator that we have. First, we have then versus now. Then versus now has been viral. It's been our most posted calculator on social media. And that is the one that when you come into it, I'm going to pull it up right here. It's really cool because we all have the person who feels like they missed out. 2 years ago was the right time to buy. It'll never be right again. We missed out, thanks, but no thanks. And the truth is they did miss out. Now, when we remember two years ago, most of us only remember the positive. We don't remember the negative. We don't remember that we put in 30 offers. We don't remember that offers couldn't get accepted. We don't remember that our clients were settling for houses they didn't really want. So then versus now lets you help make an apples to apples comparison to buying 2 years ago at 3.5% interest or 3% interest to buying today at 7% interest. So let me show you how this one works. You come in and put a list price of your offer. I'm going to say 650. Okay. And then you come down here and you say, the same house 2 years ago, while the rate was fantastic, we were having to offer 100,000 over, or this one I'm going to do 75,000 over. I'll say 7.25. I get nervous doing math on my own. Okay. So that's all you got to put in. 650 for this house that's back on the market now, and we can actually get an offer accepted, 7% interest. So that's not the fun part. But then 7.25 is what it took to close on that house because someone had paid $75,000 over ask. We've all seen this. So now when I hit compute, it does a side-by-side comparison, and it's going to go through and show you the offer prices. It's going to go through and show you the payment difference. It's almost $1,000 more a month now. That stinks. You're paying more interest now. That stinks. However, the 10-year cost of living in this home is much more similar than one might think, because we were having to bid over ask, and everyone's already forgotten that. We've forgotten the bad parts of it. And oh, by the way, in the next 10 years, if rates do drop like everyone's predicting, you can refinance, and it actually might be a better time to buy today. And how are we having those conversations with our clients? That's it. How are we going out and saying, hey, listen, I understand. However, you remember that house we tried to buy and we couldn't buy it? It's back on the market. And I just want to show you your 10-year cost of living in this home, and all things are considered, when you're making a true apples to apples comparison, it's not as bad as you might think. And if the rates do come down and you can refi, it actually may be a better time.
Everybody write down that 800 number, 1-800-624, right? 1-800-624-9575. If you call my office today and you say, I would like the bananas offer, right? If you have ever thought about doing business with us, if you've ever thought about having someone like myself in your corner, and I'll say it to you this way, and then we'll go into follow up. Basically, what I'm telling people right now is on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 is you have so much certainty about the plan that you're currently following that this was really fun, but you don't need someone like me, right? But if you're under 10 right now in terms of certainty, meaning you are not as certain that you have a plan in place today that's going to generate you hundreds of thousands of dollars in commissions in 2024, maybe millions of dollars. And at the minimum, I would say, someone just said a 2, so pay attention. At a minimum, I have a program we're running right now with all of our clients. It's called $100,000 in 100 days, $100,000 in 100 days. And it's basically 3 33-day plans that you work with your coach. And if that is of interest to you, you should call my office today and say, what is the bananas offer? I'm tired of not being at a 10. I want to be at a 10. Now, with that said, take a look at this really fast, because here's what's going to happen. When you implement what it is I'm talking about, I just give you a number there. You got 497 people in your database. What I know is right now there's 34 properties that are going to get listed for sale, right? So we got 497 people in our database, 34 are going to get listed for sale. And what most of you aren't paying attention to, and Brandon, for whatever reason, the clicker went too fast. Here's the thing I want you to be clear on. From the time that you connect with them, from the time that they raise their hand and say, well, we're not sure, we're thinking about it, we've looked at it, but we're not, maybe we're going to move here, maybe we're going to move there. It's about 88 days for sellers right now between the time that they registered the thought with you and they actually put their home on the market. 88 days. So my question for you, first and foremost, is how many days can you afford to not be sending all these text messages? How many days can you afford to not be sending these emails, recognizing that if you do it today and one says, yes, I'm in, let's go, you're 88 days from putting that home on the market. Now, on the flip side, the thing you got to be really clear on is on the buy side, you guys all know, and this is going a little slow for my little click. If you take a screenshot of that, what you're going to see is in the world of follow-up today, the reason why most people don't earn the money that they want is they fail to acknowledge that consumers, right? Our data for about a decade shows that 8% of the people that you interact with that say they want to buy a house in the first 30 days. So if 100 people were going to buy from you, just for easy math, 8 do it in the first 30 days. But of that same group of 100 people that say they want to do it, 27% do it in months 2 and 3. 33% do it months 4, 5, 6, 22% do it months 7 through 12. And the final 10% of those customers, they do it after a year of lead follow-up and nurture. And what we know is most agents quit here. Most agents stop following up. So I want to just give you some insight. Ready? On the buy side, the current average is 115 days. So it's 115 days from the time that they raise their hand with you before they actually go under contract. 88 days with sellers, 115 days on the buy side. Now, why does this matter? What am I really saying to you? 2 things. 1, if you don't have a schedule that has conversion baked into it, if you don't have a schedule that has follow-up baked into it, if you don't have a schedule that says 9 to 11 and 4 to 6, I'm texting, I'm emailing, I'm calling, I'm nurturing relationships. Write this down because there's no slide for it. 62% of consumers right now are listing with a real estate professional based upon proximity. This is from the National Association of Realtors. Proximity means I've been hanging out with Mary more than anybody else. Brandon keeps talking to me. He's my guy. Whoever has the relationship, the proximity, the connection, that's who's winning. So please begin to alter your schedule to make sure that you're doing that every single day. Now, on the flip side, I want to give you a little script. That my clients have found to be absolutely bananas. Now, my wife, married for almost 30 years. I'm with her recently. We were in Dallas and she goes and gets her hair blown out. And, she goes to the same guy like every 45 to 90 days, depending upon what it is, what service that she wants. Do you think, for all the ladies out there, do you think that my wife leaves the salon without scheduling another appointment? Do you think that she leaves the salon without scheduling another appointment, knowing that this, dude that she goes to, his chair is booked nonstop? We all know the answer. Of course, you auto schedule the next appointment. The mistake that I see so many people making is you're on the phone with a customer and they're like, yeah, Jeremy, we're thinking about doing it. And we, Kath and I just need to get together and discuss. And you're like, hey, Tom, I bet you're a lot like me. I don't know why it's not working, Brandon, but if you would forward that, that'd be great. I bet you're a lot like me and you guys work from a calendar. If you're talking to me, I'd be like, of course I work from a calendar. Everything in my whole life is scheduled, right? So since you guys want to put your home on the market in the spring, right? Go to the next part. Ready? So since you guys want to start the process in the spring, let's pencil in time to start the pre-selling strategy session. I know you're writing that down because it's so delicious. Jeremy, you guys want to sell your home in the spring? Let's get some time in the calendar early to do our pre-selling strategy session in half the time frame. So I want to meet with you guys in November, right? I want to meet with you at the end of October, right? So is the beginning of the month better for you? End of the month? Is the beginning of the week better? End of the week? Is it morning or afternoon? I do all that stuff. And here's the thing, my friends. I never hang up again with a lead without scheduling an appointment for the next time we're going to talk. I never hang up with the customer without scheduling an appointment for the next time we're going to talk. That's what separates the best from the rest. A lot of people chase leads. A lot of people play the follow-up game. Some of us, though, we just schedule. Hey, so you guys, you're uncertain. You're maybe thinking about end of next year. Why don't we get together in 45 days? I'll give you an update on the market. I'll let you know what's going on. I'm going to show you this really cool calculator that I have that kind of gives you some sense of before and after, if you buy now, if you don't buy now. It's so powerful. And let's just let the math sort of just keep educating you guys on making the right decision. It's so insane. So I only told you 2 adjustments. One is to realize you're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because you're not following up past the first 30 days, right? So one is it's got to be in your schedule. The other one is I'm no longer going to follow up on leads and say, okay, I'll call you in a couple of weeks. Hey, I'll follow up with you guys in the next month or so. That stuff is not what professionals do. The best people schedule the appointment to have the next conversation, to keep the ball moving forward, and you're going to do the same. Now, I'm going to put that up there one last time before I turn it over to Jeremy. I hope, first and foremost, because I got to bounce Jeremy in a minute, and I'll let you take over with the calendar. I hope that every one of you has a wonderful holiday coming up. Thanksgiving, right? Holidays. Today's Yom Kippur, right? For many of you. So happy Yom Kippur. What I want to stress to you is if you need money between now and the end of the year, if you actually want to generate more listings, if you need a guide, if you need someone to help, I have 237 battle-tested coaches, probably one close to your market, certainly 50 that understand your market inside and out. And if you know this is the time, then I'm going to tell you to call my office. Have that conversation. The QR code is just all my free stuff. I want you to have everything. It's all there. Download it all. But if you're like, I know I need a guide. I know I need somebody. If I called you every week, you would sell a lot of houses, right? Because I would get you over your nonsense, over your biases, and you would start to do whatever it takes. And I hope you're paying attention to that. So, just call my office. Even if you're remotely interested, call and say, I'm remotely interested. What the heck is the bananas offer? All right, Jeremy, I got to bounce to a session. I see your app is up. You all know how much of a fan I am of this. You better reach out to your title partner today and say, let's get a session together. I want to get on this app. And Jeremy, but I got to run. So I love you, pal. I will see you in Dallas in a couple days.
Thanks for everything you're doing. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone I know got a lot out of this.
Cool.
And
thank you guys. God bless.
We'll see you
soon. All right,
soon.
my friend.
And,
I'll see you soon.
To close, guys, we're going to jump in. And now I've got the calculator working. This is the new one that we're launching today. And like I said, it's buy now or buy later. Buy now or buy later. And so you should have a new button under your calculators. And it comes up and says, okay, what price house are you looking at with a client? Okay. And then real quickly, it gives you the normal quick estimate. Here's the payment. Here's the closing costs. It's what most buyers, are weighing, how much is it going to cost to get into it? I put 10% down in this scenario. And again, this is a national webinar. Your numbers won't look exactly like this. This is a local market here in Dallas. But it gives you the payment and closing costs. Now, here's where this one gets fun. If you swipe over on your screen, this is powerful because everyone who's listening to all the experts feels like because of supply and demand, And because of inflation, prices aren't going to be cheaper next year. You know, a few people I really respect came out and said they were, and they've all been proven wrong time and time again the last 2 years. So depending on what you think about appreciation, this says, let's look at that number because your clients haven't looked at it. They need to see it. They need to see, if I wait for rates to come down, what might I pay for this house? And just this visual alone, when I was showing Tom, he's like, stop right here. This is it. They need to see what 3.5% appreciation over the next 2 years. And there's a little clicker here, over the next 3 years. What does 3.5% appreciation look like? And by the way, if you scroll down, we have some of the top expert predictions, and we'll keep fine-tuning these as more numbers come out. Here's what they're saying prices are going to do the next 12 months. And oh, by the way, look at the very bottom. The last 42 years, they've averaged 4.92. So we need to get our minds around, looking at this number in the future that no one's thinking about. It's going to be the same. Yeah, it might be a little more. What does 3.5% over the next 2 or 3 years look like? That one right there might be where you stop. Let's just let them, sit on that one for a minute. Now, here's the alternative we're offering. Here's the alternative. I'm going to swipe over again. What if we buy now at today's price? And if rates do drop in 2 or 3 years, we refinance. So you have a slider here, and this is 1 point. So if we buy today and rates go down in 2 years, which we all know is probably going to create another feeding frenzy, especially if they go down to, say, 5.25, let me compare those two scenarios. Well, you're going to save over $1,000 a month on your mortgage. Here's how much, because you can refinance. So this is a buy now and refinance in 2 years, 3 years. I changed it versus buying in 3 years. This one, again, very powerful. Just sit right here and stay on this one. It gives them the comparison they're looking for, because a lot of people feel like if they wait, even if they pay a little more money, but get a lower rate, they've won. You know what? We did have to pay another 40 grand for the house, but we got it at a 4% interest rate or a 5% interest rate. Yeah, it might not be as good as you think. So let's run that scenario. I want to show this to everybody tomorrow, because these conversations are coming up. And again, it might not be for everyone, but I want you to know that it's here when you need it. And I told Tom, I think I'm going to stop right here. I do want to show you one more calculation for your analytical buyers that really, this truly isn't for everybody. I would say 90% of the people had to stop here. We did run one more calculation. And what we did is we said, over the next 3 years of this 7% interest rate, so you see it's $137,000 of interest, that first line. 3 years of this interest rate versus the appreciation of 3.5%. If you take those two things into consideration, help me feel better about the 7% interest rate, because a lot of people are emotional about it. I just can't do it. It's been 20 years and now they've risen so high. I just can't do it. This just gives you another alternative of feeling, the cost of money over 3 years when you factor appreciation into interest paid. It's really like 2.99. And again, this one really isn't for everybody. I may stop here, but this is a calculator we wanted to get out to everyone, because these are the kind of conversations that can unlock inventory. So many people are frozen in their emotions, frozen in their feelings about what's happening. And I even know for myself, I start playing with some of this and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Maybe this isn't such a bad time to buy, because we can actually buy a house. If rates went to 4 tomorrow, we would have all other kinds of problems. And we have to get out and be able to communicate this incredibly complex message to our buyers and our sellers. So I hope everyone got a lot out of this. I certainly did. Your title partners across the country, they're who make this possible. We have incredible partners. And if you haven't noticed, this app is free. We have the $1 version for some of the premium content. By the way, we spend over $2 million now, creating all those calculators and all that content for you. It's the marketing person you can hire for $1 a month. But your title partners are who make this possible. We're going to give all the slides, the recording, all of that stuff to our title partners. Reach out to them and they'll make sure you get a copy. And I know we went a little long today, but I hope you feel like it was worth your time, because I've been in real estate my entire career. Both my parents were brokers since the early 80s. It's the only thing I know. I love this industry, and we're happy to play a small role in your hopeful success. Thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.